Just a second. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Platformers Live Weekly Session. And today we are going to have an amazing session and we are going to talk about Adobe's developer experience journey. And for us, we got Carlos Santana with me, my co-host for today. How are you, Carlos?
Yeah, I think I'm officially a co-host now. Glad to be here and looking forward. So if you're watching live, this is a follow up to the last episode from last week. Last week we had Dominic from the CNCF Platform Working Group, and we discussed things like the CNCF Platform White Paper and the Platform Engineering Maturity Model, and things like the aspects and the of investment in a platform, adoption of a platform, interfaces, operations, measurements, and all this is abstracted, right? Everything abstracted. But we were telling Dominic, like, where are the end users? Who's actually implementing this in production? Who has an internal developer platform? And one of those end users is Adobe. And gladly, Adobe decided to agree to join us today to tell us their journey about their internal developer platform. So we have Perry here, Director of Engineering. And Perry, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, good morning, good evening, wherever you guys are. Yeah, I think I'm part of Adobe Developer Platforms Group, and I lead the developer experience for Adobe. And it covers all the way from several aspects from the taking code to the cloud, so which we'll be talking over some of them today.
And from where you're visiting us, like, how's the weather where you are?
I'm in Bay Area, San Jose. Weather outside is great. Yeah.
Yeah, summer is here. Glad to see
Really,
that.
really looking forward for the session. I have to say, I'm personally very excited about this one. I have to tell everyone in the audience or watching the video, we saw that deck and the demo before, and I have to tell you, it's something that you really have to see and must watch all to the end. So, Perry, thank you for joining us, and thank for everyone joining at home or at work.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Cool. So,
Shall we start?
yeah.
Yeah, we have a couple of slides, and then I heard that we're going to see some demo stuff, and then we'll conclude with some learnings, right? And then feel free, if you're watching live, to put comments in whatever platform you're watching, LinkedIn, YouTube. Guys, very excited about the presentation, so I'll be watching the comments and taking the questions. So go
All
ahead,
right,
Perry.
sounds good. All right, so I go by Perry, my last name. I've been with Adobe from the last 21 years. Adobe is a 40 plus year old company.
You're an OG, I guess. One
Yeah,
of the OGs.
yes, I think Adobe is, I mean, like if you have look at Adobe has gone through, you can name it all the transformations, right? Desktop transformation in 80, internet transformation, mobile transformation, cloud transformation, AI transformation, right? It has reinvented itself with a lot of transformations in the last 40 years. I was fortunate enough to be half of it. When I joined Adobe, Adobe was still selling boxes, Acrobat 7, Photoshop 12, right? I think when
Boxes.
I came to US in 99, and then I did few startups, and then somebody advised me, well, in order to live in US, right, you got to get to some good company, green card and all that stuff. So then I chose to join Adobe in during those .com days, 2023. I joined as a tools engineer in one of the group,
Interesting.
basically essentially to write some unit testing tools and all that, right? My manager at that point of time, I told him, I'm an engineer, right? I'm just coming here so that I'll get used to this one. I told him that in a couple of years, I'll be moving on to development and all that good stuff and all that. He said, yeah, sure, right? Here I am after 21 years, still helping developers are not done. Okay.
Tooling, tools.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's my story around Adobe part of it.
very interesting.
That's an
Amazing.
amazing story.
Yeah, today we'll be kind of from the flow perspective. We'll talk a little bit about, in general, developer experience, what it is, and why it is so hot, and why we need to focus. Companies need to focus on right now. And we'll go a little bit about Adobe context, and I'll walk through some journey, and then how CNCF is helping Adobe to make our mission possible. Right? I think we'll cover that, and we can take a brief pause there and answer any questions and all that, and then we can switch to some of the mental model on how we think about the developer platform and developer portal. I'll give you some concepts around that, and also this is the first time ever we'll actually see we'll be showing you live what we have inside, and
Wow.
yeah, and then we can take few questions there. And after that, I also want to kind of touch on, it's not the shiny UI that you see. It's actually all the work that happens behind the scenes, right? We'll touch on that's the kind of an agenda that we'll go through.
The platform behind abstraction, right?
Yeah, that's the magic. So this is, I think, the money slide, right? I think when you say developer experience, it's not about the tools. It's not about the technology, right? Those two words. What can we do so that a developer who is creating a magic has a focused time, he or she is able to kind of get into that part of it, right? So big big I experiment within my organization, talk to several people within my organization and others as well. One of the big things that come in the way of developer is not having a focus time. They are in meetings all the time, and if not, there's a meeting, one at 11, one at 2, and one at 4. Can you even imagine? He has to go home, and then that's where the real work is happening, right? I think giving a developer a focus time is a very, very important thing. It's a very important part of a developer experience. And just giving a focus time will not help at all. That's the first thing that, as a leader, as a manager, you got to do it. But the real thing happens after that, right? It's about how do you reduce the cognitive load for him. If you give a focus time, if you give him 15 things, that is still not working. You just have to let him her know that these are the main things I want you to focus on this problem. Once you put them into the focus time, and once you remove the cognitive load, that's when they have to get into the flow state, right? And that doesn't happen, believe me. I myself, like, just because I have only one thing, I blocked 4 hours, that doesn't mean I'm actually doing it. I think getting into flow state is the magic. And the way I'll say developer experience is, it's all about putting together that product, that tool, that solution, which can help your developer get into the flow state. I probably will come back to it a lot. And it's all about, I mean, we are all platform engineers. Like, there's a lot of energy with the platform, right? We do all the stuff, we get the fun and all those kinds of things, correct? But what we need to remember is, it's about the value that we are creating to whoever is using the platform. That's all that matters, right? I think how much they are able to create more value based on it. It's not easy. It's not easy to measure this value at all, right? I mean, there is no good measurement out there. Like, you have to kind of use several different aspects of it: surveys, the normal chats, and then conversations, and tools, OKRs, APRs, whatever that is, right? You have to do all those kinds of things.
Innovation goes along with that, right? From the time that you have during the day, how much time are you spending innovating, right? And for us, I include myself as engineer or developer, innovating uh, gives you dopamine, at least for me. Like, I feel empowered, that I'm satisfying, like I spend the time worth and achieve something, versus feeling the opposite at the end of the day, of like, I spend 8 hours today, I didn't get that flow state, right? I didn't get
Correct.
that
Yes.
dopamine. I feel
Yeah.
like all the things that I did during the day was just like troubleshooting and running
Or
the code, and not creating innovation, right? And like creating value for the business, because we're in the business. But for a human being, is around innovating. We are creators, engineers, right?
Yeah, and then I want to emphasize that innovation is taking that Python script, which is 100 lines, and you go there, and you knock it off and you kind of make it clean, and then you kind of make it as a reusable GitHub action, right? That
Yep.
is an innovation. If you can block 6 hours and do that, that has a much multiplier effect, right? I think
I
those are the.
agree.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I think that's something that is really important is that you said Adobe were able to navigate through all the innovation eras in the last 20 or 30 years. And in order to get that, you have to create a lot of value and innovation, and not just to do like waiting for deploys to be happened or spending time running after your IT people to get things done. So it really may be one of the key things in order to navigate through innovation changes in the market.
Yep. Okay, talking about Adobe, I mean, what you see here is, I mean, this is representing entire Adobe, right? Like a huge. So I think what the key thing that you want to take away from here is, like I said, right? It was all like a desktop boxes 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Now it is this. Everything is cloud, right? These clouds are supported by several products and services. Please note that there are services at different layers, right? These are the product services, right? Photoshop calling one of their microservice doing the stuff. They in turn depends on several platforms, right? A content platform, data platform, search platform, identity platform. These are all the platforms within the Adobe group, and which in turn consists of a bunch of services for them to deliver the platform, right? And our group is part of just about the cloud internet developer platform, and we, in order to serve, right, we have our own services that we develop as a part of all of those things. As you can tell, it is getting into, from the value add perspective, it's not a platform, it's a platforms, right? There's a platform or platform or platform, right? I think if you have a platform build a blood, you understand what does it take to build a platform which is used by 2 people versus if it is used by 100 people, 1,000 people, right? So the real goal for our organization, as you can see, our organization is still now called developer platforms. As you can tell, in a big companies like this, several reorgs, several groups have organically formed together to came to this stage, and we are not done, right? So I think one of the our mantra right now is we want to change and in the coming quarters, change the name of the organization to developers platform, because we would like to have one platform, because our product team does not, for security, for compliance, for each one of them, they don't have to go to each and everything. Our goal is to provide a good developer experience so that it feels like a single platform. So this is the mantra that we have on where we are marching towards it. And I will be talking about something, but I want to call out, there are so many, the journey that I'm going to talk about, there are so many good talks from our Adobe colleagues out there. I listed some of them, and then I'll also make sure we'll have a complete list as well. Please do watch out. There's a lot of learning. It's already out there. I want to give a big shout out to Victor Varza, who actually started all of this in 2019 KubeCon. If you watch his talk there, right? And Mike Churan, he has some great talks into it. And of course, our own Joseph, he has. I mean, there are several important talks here. Please take a look at them. So,
Yeah, and we're going to include these links in the show notes at the bottom in LinkedIn and YouTube. And I can say that these are really good talks, and one of the um, ways that Adobe is contributing to the industry. I myself, I can say that I have seen some of these talks because I have not attended the conference, but the fact that they're in YouTube, I can see those talks and I have taken value out of them. And the last one was scaling a GitOps platform on Adobe. I think that was the one in
yeah,
GitOps Con Seattle that we met together. And that one, we're extracting some of that information and creating a slide deck to show to help the end users that I help. And I'm pointing back to them like, watch the talk, and the same things that I'm telling you in this 15-minute talk, you will find it there. And also a talk that when I started learning about, I think it was crossplane, I also watched another talk about
yep,
crossplane,
yep,
Argo CD, all these tools.
Yeah.
actually they're very valuable. So that's one piece of feedback of like some people think that speaking at conferences doesn't have a lot of value, but the recording is there, and then it can scale. The learning can scale to other organizations and other people. Do
Yeah.
we have a question or a comment?
No, I just posted for people if you're watching on LinkedIn, if you're watching on YouTube, so you are able to send questions to Perry or for us in the chat or in the comments. So just if you want, just post on the comments. We get them, and we will ask Perry soon the questions that you have back home.
Yep.
Yeah, this talk is all about journey, right? There has to be something like this, right? This is a journey, and I'm not covering anything before 2015. Okay, so I mean, if we have to think about what was Adobe at 2015, right? We started our cloud journey, subscription journey in 2011. We had that aha moment. We can't sell these suites anymore, right? Okay, this cloud thing is coming, and we have to get into subscription. So what happened between 11 and 15? Believe it or not, Adobe is one of the pioneer company which dropped selling boxes, and we all went to complete subscription, right? That's what has happened if you think about 11 to 15. You can imagine for a company which was writing C++ desktop code on Mac and Windows to make to the transition of like the business impact of it, what could have happened between 11 and 15, right? 500 plus AWS accounts, many Jenkins, like they were, whatever it takes, do it to get to that part of it, right? And this aha moment of, okay, now that is going, now we have to get the platform into it, right? I think that's the kind of a story, I would say it kind of started around 15, 16, around that. I'm also using this talk to give some kudos to call outs to some of the colleagues and everyone, including alumni who deserve these things. I want to tell you this. When you start some big project like this, and guess what you're going to tell your executives? It's going to take me 7 or 8 years. Like, this is the IRD, this is the product. Nobody will believe you, right? So, big call out to Brian Layton, who was my old boss, colleague, friend. I met with him a couple of weeks ago in New York as well. He came from the Behance with a lot of startup culture. And when our new CTO joined, Brian pretty much told him everything Adobe is broken. CI/CD at Adobe is broken. Then, guess what our CTO said? Go ahead and fix it, right? That's what has happened in 2016. The Ethos platform, I think it all emerged based of that. I think the main thing that I want to kind of send the message over here is, I think you have to see the opportunity and you have to step up for the problem that you have to hold on to. It's not about, you have to see how to start it. I think Brian did not care about in that leadership who is reporting to him, where they are in the organization, and all that bound across the board, right? I think that's how it all started. So, and then the another big call out that I want to kind of make on what decision that happened during that time, which was marvelous, is uh, Docker was just coming, and when you look at outside, I think there are some big companies who are using Mesos and a thing, and Kubernetes, we can't even spell it at that point of time. Like, I can't even spell it, right? I think that's where the situation is. And we said, I think I want to give a call out to two gentlemen, Vikram and Atul. They actually came up with the idea like, okay, let's do an abstraction, right? I think we have one file called service-spec.yml file, and it's in the repo, and it defines everything, and rest everything happens over there, right? And the other term that you see here is a Moonbeam, which is a very opinionated CI/CD tool, right? This predates, in fact, even Docker. Okay, that is a tool that Brian Layton and the group of people have did it in Behance, and that's what they brought it together. So I think with this, we were able to put together behind the DCOS platform and started selling this, people getting people adopted to this platform, to Adobe, right? Um,
And Kubernetes came around 2019. You were already
which one?
Kubernetes.
Kubernetes. I'll talk to Kubernetes in a minute. That is the third click stop. I think we are still in the first part of it, right? So when we first launched the first 1,000 services that Adobe got onto the containerized and all those kinds of things, it is this Moonbeam, which is an opinionated tool, Jenkins form in the middle, and the DC OS behind the scenes, right? And Moonbeam was an acquired taste. I mean, we were kind of like, we had to kind of tell everyone, people, how to change things, how to go fast and all that. I think that's where this concept of platform champions come in. The way we were able to handle that is we pretty much for each and every product team. We went there, we conducted the boot camps, and we made sure we are two of our champions are actually on that thing. They are able to kind of use the platform and all that, right? That is the only and best way for you to adoption and the contribution, they go together. I'll talk a little bit later as well. And that's how you're able to kind of navigate this part of it, right? And guess what? This platform, within first 18 months, 1,000 plus services are using it. It has a DCOS behind the scenes. It has a Jenkins, and we have to go through that whole thing of Jenkins cannot scale. We have to move from Jenkins to code. Well, all this was happening behind the scenes while we are actively onboarding people into this platform. And while we were busy with all these things in 2 years, what has happened? Kubernetes has come, right? It has. It's time to. I
Yep.
mean, that's what it is. It's time to. I mean, we probably did we make a right choice, or how did we? All right. But I think the thing is, the abstraction that we did in 16 and 17 that actually helped, and then we had this project of a migration project while people are using the stuff, 1,000 services while people are using it. In the span of 18 months, we replaced the DCOS behind the scenes with the Kubernetes. And in the process, we are able to transition all of them. So we are, I think the abstraction choice that we choose helped a lot. And I mean, whatever I'm telling and speaking right now, it's probably is a hard work innovation for hundreds of engineers, which I'm taking it as lightly as I'm saying. It's a hard work, blood, sweat has gone through for Adobe to move from uh, uh, DCOS to Kubernetes. And then by the time we went to Kubernetes, now we are 3,000 services, right? There are 3,000
3,000
services
Yeah.
in 3,000 services on Kubernetes with an
in production.
opinionated CI/CD to the front. So now Kubernetes also gave us an offering, right? Then we said, smart, let's do two things. We used to call it as a level 0, level 1. And after, after a little bit of a discussion, we named them two things, CAS and a PAS. When you say CAS, it's a complete opinionated the tool, and you just go there. You have a respect.file file in your Git repo. You go to these tools and click few buttons, and you're done. You don't even know what Kubernetes is because you don't know even DCOS was. I mean, they did not expose any of these things to them. And those 3,500 services, they are cool with that because remember, that's what we have to let them innovate, right? I mean, why do they care about all of those things? That worked quite well, right? And then for the rest of the world, we said, okay, especially remember the platforms and platforms, and you do all the, I mean, for them, they need a lot more features and all that, right? So we gave them the second offering, pass, do it by yourself, right? I think all you do is go there and create a namespace in the ethos, and then you use it. Everything should be cool, right? I mean, there's a pandemic 2021, like the things that we have two offerings, people are doing it. I mean, why are you complaining? What is not working, right? So when the paved CI/CD was not working, and people are using their own Kubernetes, everyone pretty much had. Some people came with Spinnaker, and they created all the CI/CD, the whole experience on top of it. Some other like what originally what we started in 15 of unifying this part and all that, right? CI/CD is broken. Now it's not broken, but we still have a pockets of this CI/CD innovation happening on top of Kubernetes. Then we said, remember, we call it level 0 and level 1. There was always this thing of we have to meet somewhere in the middle. We used to joke and call it as 0.5, 0.5, right? I mean, then the what came to rescue is actually, I mean, there is no Argo CD, there is no GitOps in 18 and 19. Okay, I mean, you might have heard about it. I mean, they just maybe like I think it has just matured enough in 2021. Then we said that actually we called
Uh,
Victor Farsik to one of our big group meeting, and then he educated us on what is GitOps, what was Agile, and what was GitOps is, and all that. This was in 2021 January, something like that. And one of my engineer Aya and we both had this aha moment on GitOps, right? I mean, even till today, I think not everybody gets GitOps. I have to tell you and admit
Yeah,
that.
around,
Right?
around that time, actually,
yeah.
I was part of a CNCF working group for GitOps, and we created the Open GitOps dot website. That was kind of like the asset that we created, and multiple companies came together to like define what are like the principles of GitOps, and you can find it in Open GitOps. And I think this year the working group is in CNCF is something that is created temporarily to solve or investigate an area, and that was for GitOps. And then now this year that working group got dissolved, and then now it's just a project, a
Yeah,
CNCF project called Open GitOps,
yeah, yeah,
and it
yeah.
continues, but it's not a working group because of the same thing. A lot of people were calling GitOps having the YAML files in Git, having Jenkins running kubectl apply. So I'm doing operations and I'm using Git. So if I put the two words together, Git operations, so I'm doing GitOps. And a lot of people, not a lot of people, like some of us that we were like looking at things like Flux and Argo CD and reconciliation and controllers reconciliation, like what you're missing some of it, right? Of like the other part of the GitOps that is actually valuable when it
Yeah.
runs in Kubernetes.
What we joke around and say is, you got the first two parts of GitOps, the next three, four, you are not getting it, right? I think that's exactly is a thing. But I think,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's where in 2022 we made our bets on Argo, not just only Argo CD, but the entire Argo family. So
And Argo
what
workflows and Argo events.
exactly, all four of them. And the Adobe Flex, the project that we are which we are releasing, right? We already GA'd, and then a lot of services already there. That is called Project Flex, which is made up of all the Argo components. And this is our nirvana of where we want to take CI/CD, right? Not just CI/CD, we are calling it as a service delivery, right? I think that's where we will be taking all of those things. And then compared to the previous offering where we have a lot of opinionated tools, a lot of bespoke Adobe things and all that, right? And here everything is using around Argo components, and then the amount of code that we are writing to make the Flex magic happen is very, very, very less compared to the previous offering, right? So add less, have a less code basis, less repos, and add more value, right? That's a kind of a thing.
So it uses this previous configuration and declaration, but just in a more GitOps
No,
native
this is ground
way of
up.
action.
This one is
Ground up. So you
complete ground up.
migrated to Flex. Oh,
Oh,
got it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Got it.
Now I will tell you a
It's a
journey
painful
about.
migration.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now I'll tell you about journey when we touch on it. What does it take to get Cast to Flex? Yeah, I think. I mean, if you around 21 to 22, we invested a good chunk of time, and then we actually GA'd. We launched Flex in 2023 the fall, right? Um,
So
and
Flex was kind of like a pivotal point of like, let's consolidate into this set of tools, and not, and so it's consistency of the in terms of like standards. These are
yeah,
the selection of tools to use, and everybody like now knows Argos. They learn the same tools, they use the same tools instead of having like different CI/CD tools, whatever thing the team wanted. So that was Flex, but that doesn't give you developer portal of the next cycle, right? It just that's tools, but it
correct.
doesn't it's not a platform yet, or it's not an experience yet, I guess, right?
Exactly, exactly. That spot on, right? So what Adobe Flex does is put together all these YAML files and all those kinds of things. It for the CI/CD service delivery, it will give you that. But what you need is a layer on the top to provide the experience. That's where the backstage that comes in, right? We have a now Flex plugin in the backstage, which I'll show you in a minute, which actually does the magic of the whole thing.
Perfect.
Uh,
So how do you integrate like all of the tooling into a single like platform or
Yeah, so some of it is covered very well in our previous talk. I can go that. I think essentially, um, from the Git check-in, right? How do you use Argo workflows and Argo events to put together the whole workflow? And how do you kind of have a CI pipeline different from the CD pipeline? For the CD pipeline, how do you put the Argo CD and get that all working, right?
wow?
I think, yeah, I think there are at least 3 or 4 talks that I can. You should invite them. I think we should develop a
Yeah, we should get some engineers from Adobe to show us like these patterns implementation.
Yeah.
We would
So
love
what I
to.
want to kind of couple of things that I want to cover as a part of this journey is again, remember, I think when you do something new, right, something like an Adobe Flex, and you put together another offering where 3,000 services are already working on the other offering, right? So what do you do again? to kind of make sure people come to this kind of a platform and do the adoption and all those kinds of things, right? I think pretty much we repeated whatever we did as a part of the platform champions in 2018. We did the pretty much the similar kind of an exercise over here, right? And the key selling point is all those past users who are actually struggling and spending their time in the spinnakers, in their custom tooling and all that. For them, they don't have to worry about that layer at all, right? They can just focus on that part of it. That is the value add that you kind of have to show with respect to that part of it.
So it became as a service, right? That's usually that what the teams want. Like they don't want to own. I want something as a service. I want CI/CD as a service.
Yeah, yeah. So 23, right? 23 was a very, very interesting year for us because Adobe Flex, without even big marketing, has become a really success at Adobe, right? And then many, many teams started coming onto the Flex. And now the technologies that we chose, Argo CD and all of them, they were ready for whatever the scale that they're designed for, but they were not ready for the scale that Adobe is looking for, right? So I think that's when we had to kind of put together or act together on how do we kind of make sure the tools like an Argo CD and all these components when they come together, right? What does it mean? We have like when it started having a 5,000 Argo CD applications, we started to seeing the stability issues, scalability issues, and here we are. The entire Adobe wanted to come to this one, and I mean, this is the case of the other thing. Like people want to come to your platform, and you are not. You are already onboarded few services on your platform. They are in production, and you are not ready for scale, right? How do you handle this kind of a situation? Um, so it was not an easy time, you know. I mean, you have to make sure while you're kind of keeping the current users happy, you have to kind of work on the scale story. The talk that you are mentioning is the magic that team has worked on over the last 2 quarters to actually not solve the scale at one level, but I think the concept is like a flex in a box. How do you kind of get this whole foundation things together like a box so that when the need arises, you can have as many boxes as you need to be able to handle that part of it, right? That is the flex in a box story.
It's like a containerizing a solution altogether,
Yeah.
so you
And
can ship
scaling,
them
right?
and
HPA. Flex is the HPA to these boxes,
Yes.
Argo
yeah.
CD boxes.
Yeah. I don't know how we are doing on the time. Let's go a little bit further. And then this is where I want to kind of call it as I mean, Adobe depends on us, both the infrastructure group and developer experience group, to make all this magic happen. And we depend on CNCF to make all this magic happen. If this is are the top CNCF projects, top 6 of them we are using for sure, right? We are using, I mean, all this magic of whatever we are talking about is happening. Thank you, CNCF. And then, I mean, I want to give a big shout out to the community. I mean, the reason that I'm so excited about this group is it's not a vendor, right? It's about end users. It's about community. It's about how to do it. I think what the stuff that you guys are doing, and big shout out to Nima and the group, the Kanu group, what they are trying to do. Companies, don't worry about this tool chain, right? We'll put together the standard tool chain that you can learn the learning from. And even what the stuff that Abhi and other folks are doing with respect to platform. And these are the kinds of the efforts that we are so grateful for, so thankful. And this is our contribution, Adobe's contribution. When I look at all these things, they came from the car company and music company and all those kinds of things, right? What Adobe's contributes to CSDF is we are one of the best users to be able to use it and use them in such a way that they put them together and provide that experience. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, and
And
sharing the story brings confidence to other companies, right? So other companies right now they're maybe looking at this stream and asking themselves like, can we use CNCF? Is it safe? Does it scale? Can what is the risk of using this open source? Are we going to be okay? How do I tell my business leader that I'm using open source and not buying a product? Like, right? And listening to Adobe, and that's why we ask in KubeCon for talks from end users to submit CFPs, is to tell that story because companies like Adobe are becoming successful using open source from CNCF internally at scale. And that's where like a lot of individuals and companies are asking themselves like, do we need a platform? And which tools do I use? Can we rely on CNCF? If it's open source and we have a bug, who's going to fix it? Or if it doesn't scale, who's going to fix it? And that's where like the end users like Adobe and others contribute to these open source tools. I think that's a big contribution from Adobe. And in Canoe, it's a IDP project that I work on, and Adobe is part of it. Is we are trying to bring all these companies together to talk about sharing the knowledge and how do we put together. Like that's the next question. Like I decided to use CNCF. How do I plug this and that and this that they work all together? Because they're amazing projects by themselves, but somebody have to put them together to create an experience, right?
Yeah, and I have to say, like Adobe doing like a very big contribution for all the smaller company within the CNCF. So Adobe is part of the end user committee. So what they do is that they are like a group of very big companies which influencing the CNCF roadmap projects and a lot of stuff. And they are basically like a committee for the end users within the CNCF. So part of the thing is not only contribute to these projects, but also like they are the voice of everyone. So basically everyone within the community actually enjoying what Adobe is doing for the community. So if you are a small, even smaller company, um, and so Adobe actually represents you, and this is a big contribution because some companies actually think about scale. How my Argo CD going to look in 2 years from now? How my Kubernetes cluster will manage scale or configuration from some sort? And the fact that you're running those big environments really gives them confidence, as Carlos said, to run their critical workloads on the same project. And this is amazing. And
Yeah. And then just last year, I think while working on Scale project, we helped fix some very, very critical issues as a part of the Argo, which are, Acuity helped us to kind of make those fixes and then give us, I think those are very, very important fixes that we helped discover. And then I remember one of those things when that bug was reproduced in the Adobe environment, like, they did not say, oh, my bug, okay, I can reproduce that right now, right? So I can go there and fix it. I mean, that's a kind of an experiences we had last year.
Great.
cool. Do we have any question from the audience before we are moving forward?
Let's see.
No. Okay. Let's go
Yeah,
back.
now
One
also,
reminder. If you have someone from the audience, if you have questions, just post them on a comment and we will see it in here. Go ahead, Barry.
now we
Sorry.
are switching the gear, and then we're talking about the top layer, right? Some call it portal, platform, whatever you want to call it as, right? How it comes all together. So we actually took our time to be able to decide what is the best framework to bet on with respect to the portal, right? How do we bet? Adobe, of course, like any other companies, have a lot of internal portals. So the strategy that we have kind of applied is all the different personas. What are the different personas, right? And what are the different assets at Adobe that we need to connect to? Because it's not just Ethos platform with the containers, right? Once you broaden it up, it's Adobe. It's a wide company. There's a desktop. There is a lot of other tools. There are many, many services, even not on the containers. So how do you kind of developer home project is just not about Ethos. It supports Ethos, but it supports the entire Adobe, right? So we took some time to actually evaluate and make a decision. And we did double click and we chose Backstage as our.
Barry, can you go back to the previous to this slide? I think it's very interesting for individuals to understand this piece, and I found it very interesting that you did it in this way, because when we are talking about platforms, we tend to use the term developer, but actually you have here Adobe developers, and you have not only the feature developers, right, that write the Python code or the Java code. You have people here that are like front end, which are we usually think about them, but you have somebody like a security engineer, you have
All
an
right.
SRE, you have a data engineer, you have a quality engineer. In the respect of this developer home, all of them are consumers, right? Are kind of developers, like innovators, right? We can say, but it's kind of like the term is already taken. We cannot call it internal innovator platform, right? It's a developer platform, but I think a lot of people miss the point that they think that these platforms or front ends or developer homes are only for like the programmer, and it could be a home to like all these
Spot on.
individuals, right? That you
Exactly.
have here. So I very very interesting, and very
Including
good
what
that you highlighted this.
including what you are saying here is it's just not Adobe developers, it's those leaders, it's those managers, and then like who wants to kind of understand how things are going and decision makers and all that, right? I think they are also a very very important persona
In a
for.
single place. I mean, then you mentioned before, like you
Yeah.
wanted to create in 2024 a single box or a single place to go
Yeah,
to, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we'll change it
Did
from
I say 24?
maybe we'll change the name from IDP to IEP, like internal engineering platform, so it will be more clear that it's not only for developers.
Cool, you're getting all great ideas.
We have
uh,
business tools there. Maybe business people. Go ahead, Perry. Sorry.
yeah, so the other thing that I want to leave you before we go to the demo is see this analogy of um, um, I think when you think about portal kind of a projects, right? You have to measure in the value, you have to look at the personas, and the next one you need to think about is workflows, what workflows are those personas are doing, and how do you kind of make sure some of those workflows people can do it in the flow time, right? I think from the analogy that I can relate to at this point of time, at the end of the day, we are in the shipping business, right? We have to ship code to cloud. So today, if you have to, let's say you have to ship this pen to somebody, North Carolina, to you, right? I'll go to shop. I'll say, I'll ask for package, like where I can fit this in. And then the second thing that I choose is, do you want to send it overnight or do you want to send like those are I make few choices. And after that, it leaves that, it goes to some place, it'll stop at some zip code and it goes there. And finally it'll reach you. I will not look at, oh, is my pen going? How is it going? Right? Did he reach it or not? I think if I know that it is going to reach in 2 days or whatever that is, right? And that's how I would like to kind of we should have a complete trajectory, the whole observability, the whole flow of how things are happening, especially when they don't go with zip code. Where did the car fail? Right? Did the van fail or something like that? You should be able to when something fails, you should be able to find a zip code and then able to send the help to that location based on where this is, right? If you just relate to this already happening with even something like Amazon, they know what I'm ordering and I'm able to get the physical objects within the day 2 times, right? For software, we should be able to do that, right? How do we order the different workflows and all that? I think there is a lot of room for innovation here. I think where we are is just barely scratching the surface with respect to the tools that we have. And that I think we have a lot more interesting things that we can do on top of it, simulating the physical objects. That's my talk. So who is ready for demo?
Woo, everyone, I think.
Okay. Okay.
That's
Big
this is
shout
very
out to,
exciting. Like,
yeah, big shout out to, I mean, there's a products team, there's so many people, including several of our leaders. Oh, am I sharing? Oh, I need to
And
share, right?
Adobe
yeah,
mentioning experience, right? And the demo, like Adobe is using the skills that they have to create amazing user experience with their products, right? A lot of like people that use their products, that's one of the things that they say, like they love the user experience that they can create art and they can like modify art
Yeah,
or work with documents and they have a good user experience, right? You have those skills to provide that to your engineers, right? To your developers.
yeah. That's why the UI that I'm going to show you, disclaimer, it is, I mean, in us with some of our skills and some UX skills, engineers, we still term it as engineering UI because that doesn't nowhere meet any of the things that we do at Adobe. Okay, so we have an internal project to actually take this to completely next level. Having said that, this is our developer home, right? This is where all the Adobe developers will be coming, and you'll have announcements of what's happening over there, the service catalogs and the different services map and the different software templates and how do you create a plugin and all those kinds of things. In addition, the several quick links and those kinds of things, right? Um, and when we go to catalog, everything that you're seeing here is powered by Backstage, and we are working
I was
closely
going to
with.
say that because when I
yeah.
download Backstage from CNCF and running in my laptop, it doesn't look like this,
Aha.
right?
Yes. So we have skinned the Backstage, and then more importantly, the Backstage catalog. We have put together the whatever the abstraction and the foundation needed around it to be able to support it, right? So what you're seeing here is no joke, right? I think 17,000 Adobe assets are part of this system. Of course, I'm not going to show you guys any of those. What you are seeing here is some of my test services, and the other one that you are seeing here is a developer home. Guess what? This is again this whatever you are seeing here. It is in another microservice. It is hosted on our platforms. It is using all the stuff, right? That's what you're actually.
Inception, right? Inception.
Yeah, yeah. And you can go, you can look at the stuff that you own, you can look at all of them, and you can do all kinds of a crazy filtering, whatever you want to do it. And this is the initial part of the discovery, right? Can you discover your stuff faster, right? That's one part of it. So then from there, let me quickly go to some of our software templates. We have our templates, and some of our clients are also contributing. Something like this one. This is our favorite. Zero to Flex. This is if you actually you need to give in feed in few things.
So,
Yeah.
Perry, like a bit for like background for people that don't know, like Backstage or this ecosystem. So, catalog is like where can I find the assets? It's like a database, and it's a quick database that you can get that information. And then templates is to you're going to deploy something, right? You're going to create something and then using a template. That's a Backstage gives you that foundation, and then you're like creating templates and plugging them into Backstage.
Yep. Right. Perfect. So this is one of our templates that we did. Whatever you saw, the whole magic of the all the Argo components coming together on top of Kubernetes and getting it to all happen. This happens using our templates, and within 15 minutes, someone can create a Flex service with all the goodies of connecting it to Prometheus, connecting it to Splunks, and all those kinds of things, right?
So Perry, is this is what folks when they give talks and blog posts that this is what they call a golden path? Is this a golden path?
Yeah, so you will actually see it. I think I mean there is a difference between a creating an hello world application and creating the production ready application, right? This still is in the bucket of hello world, I would say, because I think we need to kind of connect all the tools and bringing it all together. To me, the real golden path is what are the security, what are the compliance checks are part of it, and what code are you generating, and that part. I mean, there is a still if let's say you are developing an application which has a microservice and a cache layer on database, right? And how do you kind of choose those things, and how do you connect all of them in a secure way, and all those kinds of things, right? And those are the uh, 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 we're still not there, right? I think as an industry we still have to kind of invest a lot more in getting those architecture templates and defining them, but this is the path towards that.
Creating a good scaffold, right? A scaffold app, right?
Yeah. So the next one, let's go back to our developer home, and this is the Flex CI/CD plugin that we developed in Backstage. Everything that you're seeing is on top of Backstage, connecting to our systems.
So
Pretty
just
much I don't have to leave the screen, right? So with respect to for this service, we have an hub Argo CD, which is where all the deployments are happening, and this is where all the remote environments. So there is a dev environment, there is a prod environment, there's also ephemeral environments. So the other big thing to call out here is, as a part of all of these things, you have to kind of promote a culture on how you will be able to test the whole thing in your own ephemeral environment, so that you don't have to rely on a lot on the stage and that part of it, and kind of get to that part, right? So that's another thing. So each developer that comes here and they create their own ephemeral environments, they test it, and after they are done, they put it into the production with a feature flag.
yeah.
And
So just for people to understand, what we did is a deep dive to a specific component, which is the developer component in Backstage. This is the inception that we came back to. And those are all the deployments available on a Flex deployment for these specific components, right?
right, and that component happens to be the component that you are seeing, right? That's it.
Yeah. So as a developer, so that is that a I guess you're showing like the implementation of a best practice. Like when a developer creates the app or the service, they want to go next week or tomorrow. I want to land in here and see in one place that my app is being deployed to dev, staging, production, and as I do changes and pull requests, another ephemeral environment for that change or that pull request gets created, and I can find all that in a single page. for my service. So I don't have to jump into the production web app or the dev section or the staging section or the ephemeral. Like you're putting it into one single place. So I think I can see that
Correct.
that's a good experience.
Right. And then when you have to, sometimes you have to, right? For example, for these things, you want to kind of understand, let's say this is not still going on, it's not still synced, then you can click on this Argo CD application that will take you to that particular namespace and directly over there, then you should be able to debug the rest of the things from here, right? So I think contextually linking to the part is another powerful thing that we do as a part of it. And we connect it to, for example, you can go to the Kubernetes dashboard to take you to the Kubernetes dashboard. Red Matrix is all the Prometheus. You will directly go.
Monitoring observability, right?
Yeah.
Yep, yep. And
So,
the
so,
namespace.
so you tell me that a developer in Adobe don't need to make sure that they have 10 tabs open with each one of the systems. They can just come in
Yeah,
here.
see, look at this. I think I do have a slide towards end of it. We are getting there. Okay, this is I don't. I mean, this is still good, right? I think that ideally
Mm.
you don't even have to have this many tabs also, right? But I think we are on our path to get there. Yeah.
I think, Guy, that you're overestimating. Like, a lot of developers watching this stream right now, they will say like, I do this, but I have a bookmark folder, like entire bookmarks and bookmarks and bookmarks for app 57 on production. I need to go to Argo 47 and I have a bookmark right in my
Uh-huh.
browser. Like it becomes a nightmare. So this is a huge improvement to that person doing it that way, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm kidding. Like, to be honest, if you can decrease it from 50 bookmarks to just 50, that's a lot. That's really a lot. And the context is so important because you need to remember a lot of the things in your mind, and in here everything is just available to you within a click. How many times you click on the bookmark but it's not the right one, not the right environment, not the right place?
Absolutely. I'm so glad you guys are already seeing the value of what is already here, right? And when the builds are happening, which we use Argo workflow for it. I mean, look at the dates. I mean, this is our developer at home this morning doing the development. 9:23, guys. So somebody just doing a deployment, and for if you one of the developer is using, and then if you want to go there and take a look at what's happening, so it looks
Our
like
workflows.
his workflows is going well, right?
So it's
Uh,
true. It's using all the Argo products, all the
Exactly.
projects.
Yep, we are using all the Argo projects. And again, I mean, this is one of the views that I was talking about, right? It's just not only a thing, but it's also
Measurement.
these are Dora metrics. I mean, this particular application developer home, it gets deployed 8 times per week on average. Okay. And from the time they think about making the change and reaches the production, it is happening within this is pretty good. Within 2 or 3 days, I think you are actually seeing, because that's where how much the testing is happening, what's going on, right? I think that's what it is measured about. And great change failure and this stuff. Again, the
Can
goal
you
of
share?
this. Mhm.
So some of the people may don't know what Dora metrics is. Like, what do they mean? Can you maybe explain in a few words
Yeah.
to people?
So if you guys are looking for the way to measure how is the quality of the delivery, that the whole from your software PR going all the way to the production. So Dora is a great framework to be able to adopt us so that we all can speak the same language. So when you think about Dora, there are four items. First one is deployment frequency. This will tell you how often you are actually putting your stuff in the hands of the customer, right? The more you put there and the more you get the feedback, that is better. So by the way, none of these numbers are, it's not about the big number is good or small number is good. It's about understanding how things are happening, right? So somebody is able to do 8 deployments for your product, that means it's going fast, it's iterating fast, right? From the requirements together, that's a good thing. And what kind of a practices do you have to put your stuff into the production, right? So do you kind of go all the way and put it out there, or does it wait on the stage for a week and then after that it goes there? This lead time for changes will give you some kind of an indication of how things are happening, right? When there are failures happening, what is your failure rate? And when something is wrong or not working, how long does it take to restore it, right? So these are the four metrics I think are a great way for every microservice. You should be able to kind of have it in front of you. And the consumer for this one is your group and your sprint team, and then use this to kind of have some kind of an initiatives to improve it, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
white paper mentions this in the working group, and it's a good start. Other companies start with these four and then add more of them, but starting with these four is a good base foundation, right? That you start measuring. So if you start this year measuring this, you can come back next year and see how is it improving, right? Do we have quality problems? Does it take a lot of time to ship features? How do you measure the platform? And that give you some also that we talk about in the working group, the maturity levels, right? Some people may very mature in some aspects and not mature in some other aspects on their platform. And also showing leadership, like leadership is investing funding, right? You're getting funding for this IT work to deliver software, and they should be able to ask you like, how well are you delivering that software? Is it delivering fast? Is it delivering without bugs? Are people like getting their changes on time? Right. So those are the quite questions that you can ask and aggregate all these metrics to the top tier to have a summary to have impact. Right. What's the impact of the value that when you get funding to the IT department, what value do you get back?
Yep. So one last thing that I want to show you here, which is in Works, is you can see our little guy here. So we are integrating with
Oh,
our AI chatbot. So when you go here and when something is wrong here, right,
so
we
you
have
can talk to a person, Perry, here.
there is a
Uh,
agent. We can go and talk to it. I mean, right now we're still working through a lot of things, but I will tell you how it works, right? For example, a couple of hours ago, I just asked our developer assistant. He asked me, how can I help you? I said, how do I onboard a new Flex service, right? And it gave me all this information, right? So this is an
wow,
example of
Wow.
how there is already a
that
very,
person is very
very
efficient. And
yeah. So again, I think we are in the very early stages of
So
um,
you're using AI, right? Using Gen AI, you're taking advantage of the same technologies that you're using in your products,
yeah,
using it in your platform,
yeah,
and looking how to accelerate uh, software delivery and improve the productivity of the developers or the engineers using this portal.
yep.
Yeah.
So what's the feedback? What are some of the feedback that developers have said already? Like when people get started on this, like compared to how they were doing it before, maybe.
No, I think feedback is really great. I think whole company is rooting for us to be able to deliver platform like this and making them productive, right? I think we as a platform team as a owners I mean, that's where the slide that you're probably sharing is the one that I want to take it home as
Yeah,
well, right?
let's go with it.
Uh, uh,
Yeah.
Guys, I think when we are doing any project like this, right? Once you signed up for being a platform, you signed up for being a platform, right? You are responsible for all aspects of it, right? So, especially I want to call out, we already touched on, we have to make it flexible because most you probably will not be able to add all the features that they are looking for. You don't want them to stand in a line for you to deliver feature, then they will get it, right? You got to keep it in such a way that they should be able to contribute on it, and then they unblock themselves. That is a big part of the Flex success that we did, is around 40 plus features in the last 4 quarters are contributed with this thing. Guess what? You are actually, they want to contribute. You are, I mean, those people who want to be working for platform, who are in the product, there's a platform blood in your product group. They are the ones, I mean,
Wow.
they not only contribute to it, but on the bright side, they actually are the one who will help you adopt as well. I think contribution and adoption, they go together. I think take advantage of that part of it, right? I think that's how we kind of look at it. And I mean, we are nowhere done with respect to the stability and scalability, right? I remember my previous boss, when I promised him all the Argo, I showed him all the shiny things at the end of 22 and launching it. I had like a good healthy check-ins with my boss. You said Argo, right? I mean, it should be done, right? When are you done? When is Flex done? But I think we have to kind of understand, when you take any of these pioneer technologies in there, it's just not the shiny things you're taking. You signed up for making it all work, right? I think that's all is the stability and scalability. And not to minimize, I think the whole security and compliance. I mean, you can have your own security department, your own compliance department, and you assume that they will tell you when you are not doing something right. That is not, that you cannot assume that, right? Because this you need to, because our developers will not come you for a CI/CD. They go to security for security. They go to, I mean, we have to kind of work along with other partners over there, and we are in the early stages of how we should be kind of doing it. All of those things. I think if there is two things that I want you guys to remember as a part of this talk, my first slide, which get developers into the flow state. Second, you have signed up for all of these things, and that's how you have to keep in mind while you are delivering it, right? So the next one, Nima knows about this slide. This guy is looking at shiny things. He has only two tabs open in his browser. One tab is GitHub, the other tab is dev home. Okay. I have no pressure. I have a Shibu and Mani, two of my leaders, who is working on the Flex, and the other one is working on dev home. This is, I mean, they are the, that's how we deliver the magic, right? These are the four things are my goals for 2024, which I am working with several people within the Adobe. I want to take this. I mean, when someone like me comes and talks about all of those things, it's just a minute thing of what I am doing a justice part of it. The real magic happens, including I want to kind of a call out to some of the leaders, right? So when you see some of those platform things, we have some leaders on the other side who trust us when things are not working. Okay, let's trust on those guys why that is not working, right? I mean, when you go through the tough things and when your platform creates an issue for their users, I mean, it could be very bad, but I think if you have a platform blood, they understand that part. We have to gain their trust. We have to establish these things. There's a lot happens to get all of this magic happen, including this 1 hour and some preparation to it. I probably should be spending time making sure that, I mean, but I think we see the value of all of those things, right? I hope this is helping you guys to everyone, all of us, right? I think this community is good. So my key takeaway here is it's, I mean, you probably have, I want to call it the surfaces, right? I mean, it's just not one portal, right? I think the given where we are heading, you have an IDE, your IDE is doing all the magic is coming over there, right? You probably went, right? And then when you leave from the IDE in the GitHub, like GitHub Actions is pretty cool, right? I think your stuff is happening right there, right? And then when you go to Dev Home, you're over there. And when you're in the Slack, think of them as the surfaces. Developer is in the flow state between those surfaces. You deliver your foundations to them, so that it's almost like you're watching a movie, you're watching in the iPhone, you went into the house, you're seeing in the big screen. Like, I mean, that should be the flow state of how we should be thinking the experience should be, right? And from the infrastructure perspective, we have some great projects going on. Joseph Sandoval is kind of leading several good projects. One of them is taking the whole infrastructure. I mean, so far Ethos has done, believe it or not, it's only compute. Adobe has not done anything for that's where the crossplay and all that things comes in, right? We have a very good project going on. And then even the CI/CD part of just how do you manage the Kubernetes clusters. I think I'm just planting a seed for the future tasks. Mike Turon and the Joseph has a lot to talk about there, but this is where we
Yeah, we
are.
can have. So you're talking you're describing Ethos for people watching the stream. Is a team that is dedicated on creating Kubernetes clusters using like Kubernetes controllers, right? Things like Crossplane, ACK, Capi, which is a Kappa, those GitHubs, right, to define those declarative, and then these controllers will create the Kubernetes clusters across different clouds. That sounds very interesting, and putting that infrastructure in place accelerates the platform, right, to create those clusters faster and more repeatable manner, and those ephemeral environments.
Yep.
Yeah, we'd be glad to if
Yeah.
somebody from Adobe wants to come. We have a comment or a question
So yeah, so we don't have
from the
questions, but
audience.
I have to say that we are working on another episode with Adobe more on the infrastructure side to let people know a little bit better Adobe, not from only the developer experience, but what's going behind the scenes and how they manage cluster and infrastructure at scale, Perry, as you mentioned.
Yep.
Um, Anything last before we are saying thank you for everyone?
No, I think I love this community thing, right? I think I like that it's a vendor agnostic, and it's also good for vendors as well, because this is the kind of a group that, I mean, this is good. I think we should be doing. I also like that we should not prepare a lot for these kinds of things,
Yeah.
because it should come out. I mean, whatever it is, right? I think with a less preparation, we should have this kind of a meetings, and then they should go and we should broadcast them a lot more of it. Thanks to Joseph. He signed me up for this one. Okay, I'm not blaming him,
That's
but I
true.
think
Joseph is a good friend for the Kubernetes
yeah.
project.
And I'm
Yeah.
probably signing up for at least 10 to 13 people as a part of this talk. My colleagues, we can
Yeah.
double click on.
And I have
Yeah,
to say, like, you shout out to many people during this live stream, and I have to say, thank for everyone. Like, it's really, I've seen like a lot of effort to make that amazing, and this is why this developer portal looks as good as like that. Um, so first of all, thank everyone for watching. Thank you for being active, and thank you for taking the time to being with us. Perry, I have to say big thank you for you
yeah.
for
Thank you for your
coming in
time.
here. I think that you shared a lot of the information, something that people have never seen, and that give us a lot of insight and a lot of knowledge for people that trying to explore their platform engineering journey. And maybe they have like now they have like a north star to take a look always at the Adobe IDP, and now they're thinking how do I make my platform even better than what Perry's got.
Yeah,
And Carlos,
I'm
thank you very
happy
much.
to. Always learning is a great way to be able to establish a collaboration. I think please feel to ping me on the LinkedIn, and then I usually block some time on the Friday evenings, and then for these kinds of conversations in the late in the evenings. So please, I would love to have a chat to anybody who watches this async. Please feel to reach out to me, and I would love to have a conversation with you on how, as a industry, we can make this better.
Amazing. And Carlos, thank you very much for joining me for hosting this live stream.
Yeah.
I'm really
Always a
happy to
pleasure to
have.
be a host here and getting to know more of the the Canoe members, right? So you want to reach out, shout out to the Canoe project. We have a CNCF Slack, and we have community meetings, right? We do these type of demos, and we bring people like Adobe, Twilio, Autodesk. All of us are creating a framework for people to create the platform. But Adobe story, thank you, Perry, for sharing your journey and the story of Adobe and representing all the engineers and all the leaders behind you, right?
Yeah,
That
it's an
are
honor.
making this possible. So thank you
Yeah,
so much.
cool. Thank you,
Thank you.
guys. Take care.
And if
Bye.
people wants to see more live stream, get more knowledge, make sure that you subscribe and follow our social media, because we have a weekly live stream anytime people like Perry coming to us sharing stories. Next week we are going to talk about cloud development environment with Tao from Lego Group. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
Bye
thank you.
bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.